I worked 12-hour shifts while he played video games. Then he asked to open our marriage. This is the story of a woman who gave everything, her time, her health, her emotional strength, to a marriage that gave her very little back. My husband was unemployed for over a year while I worked 12-hour night shifts, 5 to 6 days a week. On top of that, I did all the housework. All of it. Cooking, cleaning, laundry, keeping track of bills. This was while dealing with chronic health issues that have only gotten worse over the past few years. I wasn't just tired, I was a shell, walking through life half-functioning. And what did he say to me during this time? That his needs weren't being met. That we should open our marriage. That's where we're starting. I'm 29 years old, and he's 31. We've been together for 8 years. Married for the last 3. I used to believe in our relationship, but somewhere between his job hopping and my 3rd surgery of the year, I stopped seeing us as a team. I started seeing myself as an overworked caretaker, and him as a man-child with a controller and an excuse. It wasn't always like this. He used to have ambition. A steady job. We used to talk about the future like it was something we were building together. But things changed when I got sick. Or maybe things were always like this and I just didn't notice, blinded by love or maybe denial. My chronic health issues started slowly. Fatigue, pain, unexplained bloating. You know, the kind of thing doctors chalk up to stress or hormones until it escalates. Eventually, it got bad enough that I had to start scheduling serious tests. And then came the surgeries. In the past year alone, I've had 3, all laparoscopic, but still requiring weeks of recovery. I couldn't lift things, couldn't drive, couldn't even walk comfortably for long periods. During this time, I still did laundry. Still paid bills. Still made sure the cat litter got scooped. And where was he? Playing video games in the other room. Telling me he was job hunting while I lay curled up in pain, exhausted from another overnight shift at the hospital. I work in healthcare. I'm a registered nurse now, but I started at the hospital in 2015 as a CNA. Got certified as a phlebotomist in 2018. I earned my RN in 2020, right as COVID blew up everything we thought we knew about working in medicine. I've been grinding for years. Building up PTO and sick leave so that I can take time off when my body inevitably forces me to slow down. I've been using every available benefit, shift differentials, pickup bonuses, time and a half overtime, to try to stay ahead of the bills and keep us afloat. He gets a small settlement check every month. It's not nothing, but it's not enough. Not compared to what I bring in, not even close. And yet, he keeps talking about how that will support us if we have kids. That I could stop working. That we'll figure it out. He wants kids. Soon. But I don't trust him to support me through that. Not physically, not emotionally, and definitely not financially. Not when I've already seen what he's like when I'm incapacitated, completely absent. We argued about it. A lot. I tried being patient, calm, understanding. I asked him to consider therapy, individual or couples. His response? Therapy didn't help last time. I asked if he would at least try medication, something to help with his moods or motivation. I don't want to be on pills for the rest of my life. The excuses were endless. Meanwhile, I'm popping anti-inflammatories just to get through my shift. Eventually, I got fed up. I told him, flat out, if you don't have a job by the end of this month, I'm leaving. Figure out the bills on your own. And wouldn't you know it, within a week, he was magically working again. Back at his old job, the one he claimed he hated. Guess desperation really is a motivator. But even after that, nothing changed around the house. I would come home after 12 hours on my feet to a sink full of dishes. Laundry still in the washer. Cat food bowl empty. If I didn't do it, it didn't get done. He didn't even bother to pretend he was helping anymore. just sat in his room with his headset on, laughing with friends online while I limped from room to room. He tells me he wants to build a life together. That he still loves me. That he wants to raise a family. But how can I possibly trust that? If we had a baby tomorrow, I know, I would be doing it all myself. I already feel like a married single mom, just without the kid. He says his needs aren't being met, but I haven't had needs in years. I've been in survival mode. And now, I'm not even sure I want to be in this marriage at all. The conversation where it all really unraveled happened early one morning, just after one of my days off. I hadn't been able to sleep the night before, my body was aching from surgery recovery, and my anxiety was eating me alive. I stayed up all night cleaning the kitchen, sorting bills, meal prepping for the week. My version of self-care at this point was folding laundry and crying quietly into a dish towel. When he finally woke up, I had already made breakfast and laid it out on the table like a scene from a normal marriage. We exchanged polite small talk. I don't even remember about what. Something about the cat, probably. The weather. Neutral ground, safe ground. And then I asked him, "Are you happy? Like, with us? Do you feel good in this relationship?" He blinked at me like I'd asked him to solve a math equation. Eventually, he answered, "I don't think either of us has been happy for a while. But I do love you. I still want to raise kids with you. You'll be a great mom." I nodded, waiting. And then he added, "There's something I've been meaning to bring up." That's never a good sentence. He started talking about his friends, specifically a couple we both knew from another city. The woman had come out as asexual, and they decided to open their relationship so her husband could still meet his needs. They made it work, he said, like that was a compelling sales pitch. They're still together, still a family. And I've been joining some online groups, talking to people in similar situations. They said it saved their marriage. My silence didn't stop him. He kept rambling, nervously fidgeting with his hands as he said things like, "It wouldn't be someone you know, it would be discreet, and we'd still be married, but we'd have other connections." Connections. Like we were routers in a network. I stared at him. I didn't say a word. He must have misread my expression, because he pulled out his phone and started showing me the support groups he joined. Texts with strangers in polyamorous forums. Articles about ethical non-monogamy. Links to podcasts. He'd clearly been building this little world behind my back, preparing for this pitch. Then he said something that snapped me out of my frozen state. "We could even have a surrogate this way." I know it's a lot, but think about it. You've talked about fostering or adopting. This would be like that. I could barely breathe. "Did you get someone pregnant?" I asked flatly. "Is this your way of telling me you've already cheated?" His eyes widened, horrified. No. No. There was just a girl at a bar who flirted with me. It felt nice to be wanted like that again. He said it like I was supposed to feel bad for him. Like I was the villain in this story. He reached out his hand, probably to comfort me, but I pulled away. I told him I needed space, got in my car, and drove to my friend's house. She was going through her own divorce at the time. Her ex-husband had bankrupted them with a porn addiction and hidden credit card debt. Misery loves company, right? We spent the whole day talking, eating ice cream, drinking wine, going from laughter to tears to pure exhaustion. By the end of it, I had her lawyer's number and an appointment scheduled for the following week. When I came home the next day, his side of the closet was empty. So was his desk. His cat was gone too. A few wedding photos were missing from the hallway. I assume he took them. The house felt eerily silent. No snoring. No sounds of a controller clicking through loading screens. The bed felt too big. My toothbrush looked lonely in the holder on the bathroom sink. It wasn't just the absence of him that hit me, It was the absence of us. And that absence, strangely, felt like relief. We didn't speak for a few days. I think he knew he'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. I think part of him expected me to yell, scream, fight to fix things. But I didn't. I was done playing therapist, done being the bigger person. Done explaining basic empathy to a grown man. Then his mom texted me. She'd always liked me. We shared similar dietary issues, and she was one of the few people who understood what it was like to plan every meal around your stomach's unpredictable behavior. We used to go out for lunch together, just the two of us, trying out cafes and grocery store finds. So when she reached out and asked if I wanted to meet for coffee, I said yes. At the cafe, we talked about everything except him for the first 10 minutes. Then she gently steered the conversation toward the inevitable. "How are you?" she asked. "Really?" I sighed. "I'm tired. Angry. Relieved. Guilty. All at the same time." She nodded slowly. "He told me what happened." "Sort of. I don't think he understands what he's done." I almost laughed. Of course he didn't. He never really did. She asked if I'd consider counseling. If I'd give him another chance. I told her the truth. I'd been begging for counseling for over a year. I'd asked for help so many times. He always refused. And now that I've finally drawn a line, now he wants to try? She didn't push. She just looked down at her coffee and said, "Do you still love him?" I took a long breath. I loved who he was. But I don't think I love who he is now. And I'm too full of hurt to feel anything else. We both cried. She gave me a long hug before we parted ways. I think we both knew that was probably the last time we'd see each other like that, as family. The next day, he came by the house to talk. He wanted a hug. I gave him one. Then he went in for a kiss, and I turned my face so it landed on my cheek. We sat on the couch like strangers who used to know each other very well. He apologized. Genuinely, I think. He admitted he had failed me. That he could have done more. That he let me carry the weight of everything while he escaped into fantasy worlds. He told me he was interviewing for a new job, one that wouldn't require travel, and that actually aligned with his degree. He told me his cat was struggling with the move. That the new house felt lonely. I listened. I nodded. I offered some suggestions for the cat. Then I told him that the divorce papers would be ready in a couple of weeks. He didn't say anything. Just looked at the floor. We packed up the rest of his things, random socks, chargers, toiletries. He took the last box out to his car and drove away. The appointment with the lawyer was surprisingly calm. Maybe I was just too emotionally spent to feel anything more than detached. I laid out the situation: no kids, no shared debt beyond some basic household bills, 2 cars paid off individually, and a joint savings account that I'd been the sole contributor to for the last 2 years. He scribbled notes while I talked. He didn't flinch when I said the words divorce papers. It was just logistics to him. To me, it was a quiet goodbye to the version of life I had fought to build. He told me the process would likely be smooth unless my husband decided to get petty. If he didn't contest anything, we'd avoid court. If he tried to fight for alimony or half the house, we'd have to go to mediation. But since he had the ability to work, and the potential to earn more than me, given his degree, it was unlikely he'd win anything significant. Still, we needed to be cautious. Strategic. I agreed. I'd been strategic for years. That's how I survived. The one thing that gave me pause was the house. We'd rented it together, but I had taken over all responsibility for the lease and utilities months ago. My lawyer advised me not to touch our joint account for anything personal but to use it to pay off shared bills, with records. I had receipts, screenshots, timestamps. I had spreadsheets tracking our expenses. I had proof. Years of silent desperation, documented like case notes in a medical file. He hadn't even asked for a copy of the key back. That's how detached he seemed now, like the space we once shared wasn't even his anymore. When I got home that day, the cats were waiting for me at the door. My two little furry shadows. Since he'd left, they had barely left my side. One of them had taken to sleeping directly on my stomach, as if guarding me from the emotional collapse that kept hovering just out of reach. Animals have a way of knowing, don't they? Of feeling absence like a bruise in the air. I spent the next few days in a haze. Cleaning things that were already clean. Rearranging the bedroom furniture. Cooking elaborate meals for one. I kept thinking, this is what it feels like to start over, but it didn't feel like a new beginning. It felt like crawling out of a wreckage with just your name and your heartbeat left intact. I missed him. I missed the idea of him anyway, the version that helped me study for my licensing exam, who stayed up with me when I had panic attacks, who once surprised me with flowers for no reason. I missed the memories. The ghost of what we could have been. But I didn't miss the reality. Not the dishes left for me after 12-hour shifts. Not the lies about job applications. Not the way he twisted my exhaustion into neglect. It was grief, but it wasn't for the loss of a person. It was for the loss of a future I had imagined with someone who never really showed up for it. We still texted occasionally. Logistics only. He let me know he was staying in one of the houses on his parents' property. They owned a large plot of land with several homes. His mom had made up a guest room for him. He said he was trying to figure things out. I didn't ask what that meant. One night he messaged me to say he was thinking about everything, and that he wished things had gone differently. I didn't respond. What was there to say? I'd been thinking about it too, for months, years even. The only difference was that I had done something about it. I had stopped waiting for him to change. He texted again a few days later, asking if we could talk. I agreed, mostly because I didn't want to be cruel. We met at the house, my house, now, and sat at the dining room table like awkward coworkers in a mandatory meeting. He said all the right things. That he knew he had failed me. That he didn't realize how bad it had gotten. That he should have stepped up when I was sick, should have taken on more when I was breaking down, should have done something, anything, to be a real partner. He talked about regret like it was a badge he had only just found buried in the drawer. I listened. I believed him. But belief doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't resurrect love that's been buried under years of imbalance. He looked around the room, now cleaner than it had ever been when we lived here together, and said it felt strange being back. I almost told him that it felt peaceful to me. I didn't. When he stood up to leave, he hesitated, like he was waiting for me to say don't go. But I didn't. I just stood beside him, arms at my sides. He opened the door. The air outside smelled like rain. After he left, I sat on the floor and cried until my stomach hurt. The weeks passed slowly. I stopped checking social media. Stopped texting mutual friends. I didn't want the version of the story they'd been told. I didn't want their neutral positions or awkward silences. My friend, the one going through the divorce, kept inviting me over. We had what she called grief nights, takeout, wine, sad movies, angry rants, and moments of pure, ridiculous laughter. It helped, more than I expected. She kept joking that we'd have a hot girl summer, but I wasn't interested in anyone. I didn't want to date. I didn't even want to flirt. I just wanted quiet. My mom sent me a poem the week the paperwork was finalized. It was called I Will Never Love the Same After You by Ollie Hardin. I read it on my phone at work during a quiet moment on the unit, and it gutted me. There, under hospital lights and the quiet beep of monitors, I cried. Not loud. Just silently, like grief sliding down your face without your permission. I realized then, I didn't need to love again. Not now. Maybe not ever. What I needed was peace. Safety. Something real, even if it was just me and two cats in a small house with empty frames on the wall. I kept thinking there'd be a dramatic moment. Some huge emotional release. Maybe a final conversation where we both cry and hug and walk away changed. But it never happened. Life doesn't usually offer clean endings, just awkward silences, missing toothbrushes, and the sound of the garage door not opening when you expect it to. The divorce paperwork arrived in my inbox like any other email. Subject line, case number 127894, marital dissolution. Just another task in my endless checklist of adult responsibilities. I forwarded it to him without a comment. He responded a day later, got it. We'll look over this weekend. No punctuation. No emotion. Just done. I never thought I'd be the one who left. For years, I thought love meant enduring. Meant staying. Meant giving until you had nothing left, and then finding new ways to give. But at some point, endurance becomes erasure. I wasn't loving him, I was disappearing into him. Becoming his crutch, his mother, his excuse. Leaving wasn't the hard part. Staying had been. I don't regret trying. I don't regret the years I spent hoping he'd show up for me the way I showed up for him. But I do regret how long it took me to realize I deserved more than potential. I deserved presence. Partnership. Peace. My life now is quiet. Not lonely, exactly. Just quieter than it used to be. I wake up without dread. I eat dinner without someone asking what's for dessert while I'm still washing the damn pans. I go for walks. I listen to music without earbuds because no one's yelling from another room about their kill streak. I'm relearning who I am without someone pulling me under with them. There are moments when it still hurts. When I see couples laughing in grocery stores or when the bed feels too big on a rainy morning. But I also feel strong in ways I didn't know I could. I say no without guilt now. I don't explain my boundaries like I'm asking permission to exist. I kept the house. The cats. My health is still fragile, but improving. I've finished my surgeries for now. I'm sleeping more. I'm seeing a therapist, for real, not just talking about it. I even joined a support group for medical professionals going through burnout and relationship transitions. It helps. Hearing stories that echo mine. Knowing I'm not the only one who broke trying to hold up two people at once. My friend, the one who lent me her lawyer and her couch, recently finalized her own divorce. We had a little celebration, takeout, terrible wine, matching divorce girl dinner playlists. She joked that we should get matching tattoos. I'm actually considering it. Maybe something small, a semicolon, or a little cracked heart. He and I don't talk anymore. Not really. Every now and then, he texts to ask about one of the cats or to forward some bill detail I forgot. I reply with a thumbs up emoji or a single sentence. It's polite. Hollow. We've become polite strangers who used to share a bed. There's no hostility, but there's no warmth either. His mom reached out one last time. She said she missed me. That she hoped I was taking care of myself. I told her thank you, that I hoped the same for her. It was kind. Final. Like a curtain dropping on a long, sad play. I think the hardest part about ending a relationship like this isn't the breakup itself, it's realizing how long you stayed after it had already ended. How many signs you ignored. How many times you said, it's not that bad, while your soul was slowly going numb. I'm trying to forgive myself for that. Not everything has a villain. He wasn't evil. He was just careless. Selfish in ways that aren't criminal, but corrosive. Death by 1,000 small neglects. And I wasn't perfect either. I enabled some of it. I thought love meant never giving up, even when giving up was the most loving thing I could do, for myself. Now, when I think about the future, I don't see him in it. And that no longer feels like a failure. It feels like breathing again after holding it for far too long. Maybe one day I'll meet someone else. Maybe not. But I know what I won't do next time. I won't carry the whole relationship on my back. I won't shrink myself to make someone else feel big. I won't beg someone to help me when I'm already drowning. Right now, I'm focused on healing. On rest. On remembering that I am not broken just because someone couldn't handle my struggle. I am not unlovable just because someone stopped trying to love me. I'm still figuring things out. Still fumbling through days where grief hits out of nowhere. But I'm not lost. I'm not stuck. I'm not settling anymore. This is my life now. And it's mine again.